C19 and FM 88.5 now bring you the Superintendent's Update, a periodic discussion of the Memphis City Schools and Shelby County Schools merger process. Here now is Media Relations Manager Stephanie Everson with Superintendent Dorsey Hopson.
Hello and welcome to the Superintendent's Update, where MCS and SCS Superintendent Dorsey Hopson discusses the merging of Memphis and Shelby County Schools. Hello, Mr. Hopson.
Good morning, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm great. Welcome back.
I am glad to be here as always.
We have some more great news coming from our schools.
Yes, we do, and these students continue to amaze me. We were just advised a couple of days ago that we have several of our students who won the National Merit Scholars Award. We're just so excited about this accomplishment for these students. They're students in the Shelby County schools and the Memphis City schools, and I think it just speaks to the hard work that the principals and the teachers are doing in these schools.
It definitely does. So we congratulate them.
Yes, yes.
Wonderful news. Now, the school board recently held business meetings and a special call meeting.
Yes.
What were some of the big items that came out of those meetings?
Let me tell you, I'll talk about that, but let me tell you about another meeting.
Oh, another meeting.
So to speak,
okay.
that I was probably more excited about attending. Had a chance to go to the valedictorian and salutatorian dinner last week, and it was the first time that the Memphis City schools and the Shelby County schools students from both districts had a chance to celebrate that illustrious honor together. I mean, it was just so exciting to see the parents, to see the siblings, to see the families. Everybody just focused on student achievement, and at that moment it reminded me of why we do this work. Now, fast forwarding, we recently had special call meetings and a regular call meeting. I think that the main focus, or one of the biggest issues out of the regular meeting, was the board decided to approve a slate of about 12 school closures. Let me just tell you what that means.
Okay.
And I've had a lot of people ask me, okay, does this mean my school's going to close next year? No, under the policy, the board has to authorize the administration to move forward with public hearings and to develop a plan or a recommendation on a plan if it ultimately decides, or if the administration ultimately decides it's going to recommend that those schools be closed. And I know there was a lot of concern, a lot of trepidation, particularly related to some of the high schools that we recommended to begin the process on. I think we recommended Northside, recommended Westwood, and Carver High School. And again, the reaction was, oh my goodness, you're closing my school. But the reality is that there's going to be a process. Now, I've said all along that we have too many schools. We really do need to right-size our district. And when you look at some of the low enrollment, some of the academic standing, some of the low utilization, some of the low course offerings, and kind of a history or the tradition of what's happened in some of these schools, I just think it makes a whole lot of sense for the community to have a discussion about what the right course of action for these schools are.
So, what did the board decide with that? What's the process going to be? I know, like you said, it doesn't mean, boom, automatically the school is closed. When the board makes a decision, they make a decision to begin a process.
Begin a process, absolutely. And again, from here, now the administration is tasked with doing some work, so to speak. We're going to have to hold hearings with various segments of the community. I thought the board was very clear and very smart in saying that, unlike some of the school hearings we've had in the past where you just go to school and sit down and let people read a card, and then you make the decision, we're going to have some real honest dialogue. We're going to invite some of the community leaders, we're going to invite some of the political leaders, obviously alumni associations, and we're going to have a real honest dialogue about what the best course of actions for these schools are. And we've talked about this last time, but you look at a Carver High School, rich with tradition, steeped in tradition, bedrock for that community, but the school is in priority status. The school has, I think the numbers were less than 400 kids, and the building is built to hold 1,200 kids. One thing that stands out in my mind, and I keep saying this, I don't think that we need to have discussions about closing schools to save money. We need to have discussions about closing schools to combine academic programs so that kids can have a more robust academic offerings. And let me just tell you what I'm talking about, Steph. You know, I looked at what the AP course offering at a White Station, which is probably Memphis City Schools' flagship school. They have 26 AP courses, you know, and that's, you know, that obviously gives students you know, a wider array of opportunities. When you look at Northside and Westwood and the other high schools that we're talking about or mentioning closing, they have 10 AP courses between all three of them.
Put together.
Put together.
Wow.
So it's Carver, Northside, and Westwood. So you take those three schools, and they have 10 AP courses between them. And a big driver of that is just student enrollment. I mean, certain areas or communities in Memphis just are not places where new people are moving in or where families are putting down anchors and roots. And that doesn't mean these communities are not important. They're very important. I think they probably are some of our most fragile communities, and we need to have some treatments for those communities. But when you are charged with educating students, that's got to be your main priority. Now, there are a lot of issues with these neighborhoods and communities that the city and that the county need to come together and address. I mean, you start talking about high crime rates, you start talking about, you know, other societal ills, you know, which shame on all of us if we don't address. But I think that the conversation naturally gravitates towards the school district, and it's almost like the school district is responsible for dealing with all these issues that, you know, far exceed the bandwidth of a school district. Exactly, right. Exactly. So I hope that that we're able to have a thoughtful conversation about all these schools, because I mean, again, we're going to all sink or swim together. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But once again, the process will begin having those meetings with community members, but the proposal is not until 2014-15.
And I just I want the community to know we're going to be real thoughtful. I mean, you know, I suspect that the board is going to hold our feet to the fire. So if we don't have a clear rationale for closing the schools ultimately, or repurposing the schools or whatever, I'm sure the board is not going to just willy-nilly close schools. So again, our task is to go in, gather all the facts, gather all the evidence, analyze the data, and then make a clear recommendation with a good rationale for how can we improve student achievement and also get a better utilization rate on these structures that we have.
All right. Now, the superintendent search has been suspended.
Yes.
Correct?
Seems like every time I see you, it's just they give me some more jobs.
Right, I know. So give us some background on that decision.
Well, the board received a letter from the search firm, my understanding, and the search firm chronicled some of the challenges it was having in its recruitment efforts, and the challenges weren't really unexpected. I think the main challenge was prospective superintendents didn't know what their board was going to ultimately look like. So the time frame the board set out was to select someone by June 30th. Well, we know that the composition of the board is going to change drastically in about August or September. Under the consent decree, it goes from 23 to 13. There's some discussion in the course now whether those additional 6 members, you know, you have the original 7 who've been elected, they're going to be joined with 6 more. So there's some discussion about whether those 6 individuals are appointed or elected, and that's an issue in the courts right now. But at the end of the day, the board that hired the superintendent in June would not be the board in August. So the search firm said it was having trouble because of that. And then there are a lot of other issues too, Stephanie. I mean, you know, we are really in the middle of a serious budget issue. And then you got things like closing schools. You know, you got things like merging two school systems. Yeah, you got things like laying off, you know, literally hundreds of employees. And for those reasons, it probably was the right thing to do for the board to accept the recommendation of the search firm to hold off the search. That doesn't mean the search is going away. What they did was the search firm recommended that they suspend recruiting efforts until the school year starts, maybe get some stability here, and then they'll pick it back up in the fall with hopes of having a permanent superintendent in place by the end of next school year.
Okay. All right. And then also we had 2 special called meetings around custodial and transportation.
Yes.
And with custodial, it was selecting a vendor.
Yes.
What were the decisions on that?
Well, you know, that was there were 2 huge decisions by the board. I know a lot of times the board gets a lot of negative references, and you know, but the board really made just 2 huge decisions. There were decisions around finalizing the outsourcing of custodial services, as you mentioned, and transportation. Now, the board selected a vendor called GCA. They actually perform custodial services out in the county schools now, and you know, when they did the scoring rubric, you know, they had people from the Memphis City schools and the Shelby County schools evaluate the proposals submitted, and we just felt like GCA gave us the best chance to have schools ready and open to go and be clean on day one. I think the key thing there is that it's the savings associated with that was roughly around $13 million. Yeah. And then the transportation piece, we talked about or looked at outsourcing transportation altogether, but when we got in there and rolled up our sleeves and saw what was going on, we determined that we could save a whole lot of money by using the buses that the Shelby County schools have now, by using those buses to provide transportation out in the legacy Shelby County district and 2 regions in the Memphis City schools districts.
Okay.
So we worked the routes, we made the routes more efficient. We analyzed the data to make sure that the transportation load as it relates to the buses were at maximum capacity. And as a result of that hard work, I think that, I can't say enough, there's one of our employees, a guy named Alexander Sassafras, just got in here, rolled up his sleeves, analyzed these routes, and we saved about $6 million. So we determined that we keep the buses for now, and then kind of see what happens, you know, as we move forward, you know, next year with, you know, possible municipal school districts, and then we'll reevaluate that situation or that decision at the end of next school year.
So that's why they've called it a hybrid transportation model, because
Absolutely.
2 of the regions will be outsourced and the other regions will be from the bus fleet that's already owned by Shelby County schools.
You're absolutely right. Memphis City Schools now has 4 regions. All those are outsourced. Shelby County Schools has in-house. So we're going to use the Shelby County to do all what was Shelby County and 2 of the regions that are Memphis City schools. So that, again, that $6 million savings is significant.
Okay. When we come back, Chief of Talent Management, Laura Link, will be joining us.
It's not my fault I don't understand the work. I try, but it's not good enough.
They think I'm a teacher's pet. Am I really that horrible because I do well in class? I just want to be accepted.
I know I'm an outcast. I talk different. I dress different. Why is being different such a bad thing?
Stop bullying.
Okay, class, who can tell me what is 3x plus 6? Mr. Davis, come to the board, please. Both of you, out of my classroom right now.
Welcome back to the Superintendent's Update, and joining us now is Chief of Talent Management, Laura Link. Hi, Ms. Link.
Good morning, Stephanie.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Can you talk about your role in the school district previously and your role for the MERS district?
Sure, absolutely. Previously, I was the Assistant Superintendent in Shelby County Schools for teaching and learning, and that encompassed performance management, which is the evaluations that we know of, as well as PD and support, so that's the teacher and principal support, as well as coaching. In the merged district, I get to bring both of those areas to the new Human Capital Office, but get to complement it with what we traditionally think of as HR operations, such as employee services, In addition to that, the recruitment and staffing of central office, classified staff, teachers, principals will be all in one division.
She's the hardest working person in show business.
I see. I see. When you talk about human capital, you're talking about a wide array of a department.
That's right. It is. Actually, you know, it's 5 current departments brought to one. Not just for efficiency, but for a real interdependent strategic approach, thanks to our superintendent, made sure that the support was aligned to evaluation, who we recruit is aligned to the evaluations, and that who we reward is also aligned to our evaluations. So a very performance-based approach to how we recruit, staff, support our principals, our teachers, and our central office employees.
Speaking of that, there's a lot of concerns around positions,
right,
from teachers
Sure.
to central office. There's a
Sure.
lot of questions and concerns.
Sure.
And one of them is the accessing. And a lot of
Right.
people still don't
Right.
really understand what teacher
Right.
accessing is.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about that and what that process is right now?
Right, happy to. Really, the term we're probably most used to in years past is surplusing.
Right.
So accessing is the new surplusing, and really what it is when there's a drop in student enrollment or other budgetary issues, that losses of positions ensue. So as a result of that, superintendent, cabinet make decisions strategically where those excess positions lie. You know, very thoughtfully, our cabinet and superintendent made sure that those accessing positions were not close to the classroom, although we do have some. But the good news is that while we have about 800 classroom teachers that may be accessed, currently we have 745 vacant positions, and we anticipate, due to trends and current data based on resignations or retirements, about 1,200 to 1,500 openings very soon underway for the new school year.
And we've been saying all along, Stephanie, when people get concerned about that, if you are a good teacher, you're going to have a position. I think that needs to just be drilled home.
Okay.
I mean, you know, more positions than people being accessed, and I just hope the community understands that.
That's right. And, you know, and anybody that has a performance rating of effective or above currently has found an interview as a minimum and likely will have a place in a perhaps same school, new school very soon.
Okay, so that's why I wanted to ask you, mention a main myth
Right, right.
around accessing is if you
Right.
get that notification, you're gone.
Right. Oh gosh, absolutely not the case. Really, if you think about it, it's just shifting our talent and shifting our resources throughout the larger district. And that doesn't mean that you're necessarily, you know, shifting in location very far, but we've got to make sure that our very best talent is in front of all of the students that you know, we want to match talent with student need.
Right.
And we also want to make sure that our principals and teachers have choice. So thanks to some recent staffing policies that were passed by our board, those teachers that may have been excess have lots of choice. You know, not only do we have excess teacher resources and job fairs and opportunities for them to hone their resume and interviewing skills, but they can transfer voluntarily. Right now, our voluntary transfer process opened 2 weeks ago, and they are at liberty to choose by location where they would like to work. And again, with those 800 positions currently, and the other hundreds that are soon to be also on the jobs board, they can really make sure that the fit for their skill set and where they want to work under what leadership is availed to them.
So summing it up, there are some teachers that are going to be, that have been accessed.
That's right.
But there are opportunities.
That's
and
right.
there are going to be positions opening.
That's right, and we notified them early in April, and the accessing ensued at that time, so everyone was fully notified, and they have the opportunity through around mid-June to go ahead and voluntarily, you know, take those choice opportunities to find a position elsewhere. And interview with principals, and by mutual consent, make that decision to work in that new location.
Okay. So central office is also in the
Yes,
human capital
that's
talent
right.
management area.
That's right.
Where are we with that process?
Yeah, we're in the throes of staffing what we call our Layer 3. These are our direct reports to the Cabinet, and that's about 79 positions. Currently, Cabinet is interviewing about 250 folks internally and a few externally, again searching for that top talent, but we anticipate about 800 positions also available in the central office as well.
So once again, if there are people out there that may have been excess, the opportunities are there as well.
Yeah, and we welcome that. You know, we want people to illuminate their talents and be able to stretch from school-based to central office and vice versa. We know that, you know, many that currently reside in the central office were once at the schools, and we welcome that and encourage that, and we know that in order to have a really strong, effective workforce, they've got to be cross-trained. So, yeah, absolutely. We see that many familiar faces from the schools interviewing with us right now at the central office.
And let me just highlight, I mean, I want the community to understand, you know, what's going on. I mean, she's very modest, but just a tremendous amount of work that Laura is doing right now. I mean, you've got staffing of the schools. As she said, you know, you may have 1,500 positions that have to be filled. She's managing that process. We're totally hitting the reset button on the central office. So at a time where you're staffing schools, you're also staffing the central office. We're doing all this. We're going to make sure that the process is fair, that it's transparent, and that the top talent gets placed in all these positions. And I just think that Ms. Link needs to be commended for the tremendous amount of work that she's doing right now on these two very, very important issues that are going on at the same time.
Well, yes, definitely, because it's a
It's
huge department which handles all employees. It's a very big task.
Yeah,
and hundreds being posted, hundreds applying. That's a lot.
It's also very exciting. You know, we think about, we talk about the merge and putting two systems together, but really, in essence, it's, you know, it's an effort of synergy. It's the best of both. So you're not going to see, you know, wholesale changes out at the school, but you are going to see a really efficient, lean central office that's very smart and strategic in its approach to support the schools, and lots of hands-on work very close to the classroom as a result of the design by the superintendent. Yeah, we're excited about it.
Speaking of support, through the years on MCS and SCS, there's teacher support, reflective practice, the evaluation system, tiered coaching model, which we spoke to some members of that team earlier.
Yes.
What types of support or professional development will be offered in the merge system for the teachers?
Yeah, very excited about the supports to come. You know, we talk about this performance-based decision making with recruitment and staffing and accessing. You know, we feel obligated and as a moral imperative that we've got to support our teachers through this, and that's where our focus should be. That professional development is centered around what we say is the critical impacts in the classroom, as exampled through the evaluation or as designed by the evaluation. Then our support should be around that anchor. So most of our supports will be one-on-one through use of those coaches that, Adine, you mentioned, you know, learning coaches, master teachers, consulting PAR teachers, as well as our PIT crew, to really help teachers elevate their practice, you know, and we're not just talking about those that are hitting trouble spots of 1s or 2s, you know, those 4s and 5s that can stretch. We want to give them some independent opportunities, and we want them to grow. We've got lots of teacher leadership opportunities, more than ever, across the district, and we want teachers, of course, to stay in the classroom. We want them to grow in the classroom and be leaders in the classroom, and we want to reward them as such. You know, we want to affirm those that are very invested in the work, invested in kids, and are making the gains with student achievement.
So the fact that teachers can get feedback, can call for help.
That's right.
Can reach out to HR, reach out to TEI, reach out to the Teacher Support and Professional Development for help will continue.
Absolutely. But, you know, we hope that they don't even have to call us. You know, we've got a very measured way in which through the evaluation system we can see those that are in need and those that need some added support. So we're there before they need to call us.
Right.
And they're out at the schools. And most of our teacher support workforce is their peers by location. The large majority of our funds and efforts are there, and we don't, with the support staff, just kind of bless them to do their work. It's a very comprehensive and specific approach that we, as the PD and support anchor at the central office, will support those coaches and help them grow in their work along the way. All of the coaches that we just mentioned have a very similar coaching base and training base, so it's not going to look asymmetrical or sideways. So if I've got a PAR consulting teacher, or if I have a learning coach versus a master teacher, lots of the essential coaching will be the exact same, and the language is the same, because we're going to use the evaluation as the common language that is the thread that all the coaches engage with.
Which the teachers are already familiar with.
That's right.
And you just can't think of many things more important than supporting these teachers.
Right.
You know, when you look at student achievement, I mean, the data is unequivocal. The most important factor is how effective your teacher is. And I think that all of these strategies that we're working on, particularly the professional development, are all designed to affect in a positive way student outputs.
Definitely. Now, school will be over in a few weeks, but going into June, staff will still be working to get to that merger date and to the first day of school.
Yes.
August 5th. What's next? Major decisions? What's coming?
Well, you know, fortunately, the board has now approved or acted on all of the TPC recommendations. So we now have, I guess the next step is we need to get a budget approved. We've been working very hard on getting that budget approved. As you know, several months ago, we initially presented a budget to the commission asking for about $147 million in additional funding. The commission indicated they wouldn't fund at that level, so we've gone back to the drawing board. We've been working extremely hard trying to make as many precise and strategic cuts as we can make, cuts that we think won't have too much of an adverse impact on the classroom. So we will be presenting our budget to the school board next week, and then following that, hopefully we can get that approved from the school board, and we will get presented to the county commission, I believe, on May the 22nd. From there, we'll have our blueprint. But there's just a tremendous amount of work to be done. I mean, we've got to, you know, once we get the blueprint, and then we got to, you know, we got to execute the game plan. I mean, we've got several schools that have already been closed that we have to kind of clear out and get ready for next year. We've got an audit that the board, you know, wants us to do. You know, we've got just a tremendous amount of work to do between now and when the school year starts. And then when the school year starts, we're going to have a tremendous amount of work to do all year long. You know, one thing I think is important to mention, we had to change some start times for some of our schools to make sure that we were as efficient as possible with respect to the transportation. So we're going to have to communicate those decisions to the community. I think that's one thing I know we're going to have to continue to work on, our communication with the community as to what's going on every single day. So, you know, we'll be working to close schools down. We'll be working to merge the schools, and then once the school year starts, we're going to continue to work to make sure that these students have the best educational experience they could possibly have.
All right. Thank you both for coming in.
Thank
Once
you.
again.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Stephanie.
For more information on the merger process of MCS and SCS, visit mcsk12.net or scsk12.org and click on the Transition Update link. This has been the Superintendent's Update. Have a great day.
The preceding was produced by the Department of Communications and Broadcast Services through the facilities of C19 and FM 88.5. Stacy Franklin, Executive Director.